The words of our text, 1xJohn chapter 3 and verse 8. 1xJohn 3 and verse 8. He that committeth sin is of the devil, for the devil sinneth from the beginning. For this purpose the Son of God was manifest. Requirements of the Christian religion and the authority of Christ the King does not apply to him. On the other hand, there are those who are safe in Christ, but the law applies of God. Two very different cases, of course. One person a fugitive, one person saved. But there are only ultimately these two categories. There are no grey areas between them, not in God's eyes, not in the eyes of God's law. There's no halfway house between someone being a Christian and not. Someone being condemned by the law and someone being justified in the eyes of the law of God. There's no compromise position, friends, where you can mix and match these things up. Some people want to try that. Some people want to say, oh, I'm a Christian. But they don't live as a Christian. They don't give any evidence of being a Christian, but they believe that because they once said something, or prayed something, that's all that's required, and they can just carry on living as they like. He says there in verse 7, little children, let no man deceive you. He that doeth righteousness is righteous, even as he is righteous. Let no man deceive you, little children. By using the words little children, John not only shows his tender care of the people he's writing to, but more. He shows how, or even to pretend by your morality that all is fine in your life and soul when it's not. Pretend Christians is righteousness to its source. In the second one, he traces sin, and in the third one, he traces salvation. Righteousness, sin, and salvation. Three investigations taken up by the Apostle John. And we're going to follow these three things this evening. Investigation 1, tracing righteousness. Look at verse 7. So John says, it follows then, like the one who is righteous ultimately, that is the one righteousness of Christ, even as he is righteous. And that's John's simple three-step investigation here. Do righteous. That means that you are righteous. And if you are righteous, that means you are Christ-like, a Christian, and sting that John intended it to have. He that doeth is righteous, even as Christ is righteous. You see, we've been bombarded with other so-called truths. We've been carpet-bombed with the lie that righteous is because you have the righteousness. Where does that action come from? Where in all the world of sinfulness do we find this little beautiful flower of a righteous act? A God-approved act, a God law, and a righteous person. Usually the case that we find when we look at the heart and we look at our own hearts, that the heart is deceitful above all things. It's desperately wicked. That's what we expect, not righteousness. So where does a righteous heart come from? It comes from a Christ-likeness and a union with Christ, even as he is righteous. Likeness to Jesus, being Christ-like, being a Christian. Anything else, John said, it must be a good thing of itself. No matter what motive people may say, oh, I did it in the best of motives. If it's often want to forget the imperative that a good thing must be done for the glory of God.